Welcome to the Inspired Action Podcast. This is where we have motivational, inspiring conversations and interviews that we hope you'll enjoy listening to.
Join us and other inspired actioneers on this alchemical, transformational journey.
Welcome back to the Inspired Action Podcast, or welcome to the Inspired Action Podcast if you're a new listener. Thank you very much for tuning in. And this is our first episode of Season 8, number 130, Leta.
Woohoo!
Yeah, that's a very good woohoo. My name is Jaye, and I'm here with my woohoo and co-host, Leta Herman.
Welcome back, Inspired Actioneers. Today, we're starting a new season about authenticity. We are going to look at all the things that interfere with us being our true selves in the world and look at ways to create more and more authenticity within ourselves.
And Leta, do you think that word's being a little bit overused in the world? Like, you know, like we often joke about the word alchemy. I mean, authentic. I mean, we use it a lot too, but let's go into that a little tiny bit.
Well, I think it's being used because we have, as a whole, found that we're living inauthentically, like wearing a mask in public, in society. And so one of the ways we've been working, to really understand how we might be completely ourselves in the world is the use of something in Chinese medicine that's called the 13 Ghost Points.
Yes, the 13 Ghost Points. These Ghost Points are magical points that get to the heart of the matter, so to speak, in Chinese medicine and philosophy. And we're going to dive in and talk about each one of these.
And Jay and I like to take that technical jargon of Chinese medicine. We like to put these concepts, into everyday simple language. And we think the ghost points are some of the most powerful points in all of Chinese medicine for helping us as humans or even animals such as our animal companions, to help us all live our authentic lives.
There's that word again. You're going to hear that a lot. We should have a clicker. Click, click. That's like 4 already, I think. But no, it's a great word. I love the word. Don't get me wrong. We often think not just about the philosophies themselves, but the application of these philosophies, these old ancient philosophies that we're kind of bringing into the modern times. I mean, like we're not bringing them in, but we do bring them into our clinic and our practice.
Yeah, and our modern day lives.
Yeah.
So what's the point of knowing all this stuff if we can't fundamentally use it to help ourselves and the people we're living with or working with?
Well, guess what? The good news is you can. This information is really awesome. And in our practices, we see over and over. Yes, I went over.
Is that enough overs?
That's enough
yeah,
overs.
I think you went over on the overs.
I think we did. I'm going to do over again. But we see people truly change their circumstances. Or another way is changing their life story simply by embracing their ding, 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 authenticity. Self-cultivation is where I always try to guide people through moving your chi, meditation, understanding how you energetically move through the world, and so much more. We're going to go into that with these ghost points.
Yes, and much of this podcast talks about how we can understand ourselves through the 5 elements.
And the 9 palaces, which, I could talk about all day. It always gets me excited.
Yes. And Jay, you always like to say that, imagine alchemy is this little bit of fairy dust we get to sprinkle over our lives once we come to realize who we really are.
Yeah. We believe that you first need to understand your true energetic nature. And in understanding that and learning that, you're capable of so much more. The word I keep using all week is limitless.
Yeah. And we have to accept who we are by default. But we also don't want to be limited by who we are. And on top of that, we don't want to be limited by those negative life experiences.
Okay, I said unlimited.
Trauma.
Now you're saying limited, right?
Right.
Come on, that's my word, unlimited.
Okay.
No, you can use it. I'll share it.
Yes. And it's those negative and traumatic life experiences of our past that might be kind of twisting us a little bit. We might be having trouble being who we are because the world is a scary place. And maybe we've developed some negative energetic patterns and ways of being that don't really serve us. And definitely, they don't let us be our ding, ding, ding authentic selves.
Yes, right? Now I got you counting them, right? So, you know what? That's really well put, Leta. I like the way you said that because this series of episodes that we're embarking on is kind of like 13 ways we can release those patterns and come back to our true natures.
And then once you're free,
Right.
And then once you're free from those negative patterns, Jay and I like to call them hooks, then you can be free to do your alchemy and really fly in your life. And alchemy is a path that you take your time on. It's not a race.
Yeah. to really feel like you're flying in your life. It's an amazing thing where everything is going your way. You're in the flow. You're in the wu way. You have such resilience to handle things in the outer world because you just love yourself so much. And your perspective of life is open, unprotected, and free.
Wow. Okay. So that's not
That
just
is the goal.
That's not a small goal.
No,
Jay.
we're going big this time, really. I mean, think about it. Why is that so big, Leta? Right? Why does that seem so crazy or unobtainable for many, many people? I think, me personally, that everyone should live this way, loving yourself, unprotected, free. Everything is flowing, wu wei, inspired action. We have it backwards, I think, sometimes in this modern world. But those are the simple things that we can do for ourselves.
The odd thing is, Wu Wei is actually really simple. Inspired action is the simplest way of living, and yet we think it's the hardest and most complicated. But before we go that big, and let's get started and talk about all the things that are going on at the Inspired Action Podcast and the Alchemy Learning Center.
We got it going on. Yes, we got a lot going on here, and we're turning our attention to the Ghost Points. And just coincidentally, there, we got a new book coming out called Cultivating the 13 Ghost Points, which we're super excited about to bring you this series of episodes that will go hand in hand. I don't know if you want to go hand in hand with the ghost, but
no,
right?
Definitely not.
No.
I was walking with the ghost. I said, please don't insist.
It will go hand in hand. You can kind of like follow along. We're not going to be exactly to the book, but we're going to have a way that you can utilize it.
And Jay, when will that book be coming out?
Any day now.
Any day now. And there's even more to all that moreness that we're talking about. We're launching our next Ghost Points mentorship for practitioners and lifelong learners. That's at the Alchemy Learning Center as well. This will be a worldwide mentorship coming together of an amazing cohort of people, wonderful people who all sincerely and wholeheartedly want to explore themselves.
Yeah, and they are asking better questions in their lives and to those around them and looking to learn more, ask more, be more in their own lives. And you can do that in the Alchemy Learning Center, even if you don't join the Ghost Point mentorship, because we have now a monthly subscription that will help you with all of these.
Yes, and I like the idea of asking better questions, Jay. Unlocking the secrets of your own experiences so you can transcend those old traumas. And in addition to that mentorship, which is the first step to joining our apprenticeship.
Which will be in 2025.
Yeah, so if you've been interested in our apprenticeship in the past, this is a wonderful opportunity to first explore this work for yourself.
Because when you embark on these journeys with us, we take our apprentices on a deep dive into their own alchemy and self-cultivation first, before they start working with others. My philosophy is everyone starts here.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to work on yourself before you can help
Yes.
others.
And you mentioned the subscription membership, Jay. Let's tell them a little bit about that.
Sure.
It's a wonderful way to take advantage of everything on the Alchemy Learning Center site. It's an all-inclusive membership. It includes all the classes and meditations and the live events. We have 2 live study groups coming up. We have a new podcast called 5 Element Fridays and a live event every other week called 5 Element Fridays.
I think you just did that for me.
Yes.
Because you just did all that. So if you asked the wood person, I'd be like, monthly subscription, $99. That's it. Come get it all for that, right?
Right.
But you did a great job. Thank you for that.
And we
Saved
didn't
me
tell
all
them
that
about
words.
Meditation Mondays,
Yes.
Alchemical Meditation Mondays.
Which I'm really looking forward to. We're going to have some guest speakers and teachers, and we're going to do like we're going to do a talk, and then we're going to do a group meditation. I'm really excited. We're going to have obviously a different meditation each week.
Right.
And
all of that is included.
With us. Yes.
Yes.
So I'll just say it again. Monthly subscription, $99. Join us. It's only $99 for a while, and then it'll go to its regular price. But right now, if you're listening, and it's still 2024, boom. It's a great way to get started on your own alchemy. Learn more about the 5 elements in a group format where we all can participate. And I'm going to say it, we all can share. I know a lot of people don't like to share, but it is part of revealing self-cultivation, going deeper.
Well, and alchemy also requires vulnerability, your ability to be open. Sometimes we have that story that we do tell the therapists every time, and it's the same story.
Same story.
And it's time to break up that story and maybe get it out in a different way. Maybe that story has a lot more to it, which is about what we talked about earlier, asking better questions.
Yeah,
Maybe.
and in a safe space with no judgment, like-minded people, open-hearted people, everyone's going to be on the same journey,
Yep.
just different ways they're going to go through that. So if you have any questions or anything that you want to talk to us about, you can send us an email at Leta Inspired Action Podcast or Jaye at inspiredactionpodcast.com.
Or you can join us on our Facebook group.
Yeah, we're still doing that, huh?
Which we're still doing. And it's actually,
Can you tell I'm not really, I only do a tiny bit.
it's very active.
Leta's really into it.
Yeah, it's very active, and it's also an alternative way to reach out to us other than through the Alchemy Learning Center, which also has its own online component where we share ideas and things like that. So
Yeah.
we've got lots of ways for you to reach out. And
then maybe I'll put a little more into the Facebook group and the Instagram, and we have a new TikTok.
we have a new TikTok channel. So
Finally
check out.
got into the ticking the talking. I was
Yeah.
talking and not ticking. I didn't know I was doing it wrong. But Leta, she's got it going on. She's ticking and talking in the right order. So I hope you enjoy our little insights and thoughts as we're doing like walks and talks. And it's a way to multitask while we're walking the dog,
There you go.
right? And sharing wisdom, which is what it's all about.
Yes.
And also one final thing there, if you get 1 ounce or second of fun or smile or a thought, please take a second of that, another second, if you've had that second, to do a review of our podcast, especially if Apple Podcasts is your mode of transportation for podcasts, so to speak. Send us a screenshot. We'll send you a t-shirt, a swag,
Yes.
or mug, or a hat, or something that says, hey, I love the Inspired Action Podcast.
Yes. We have a goal of getting as many reviews on Apple Podcasts as possible. It really helps the algorithm to present our podcast to other
We
potential
don't
listeners.
have one that says, I heart the Inspired Action Podcast, but maybe we'll make one in the future.
Yeah.
But it just says, I'm nerdy and I listen to the Inspired Action. No, it doesn't say that either. I'm just teasing. I'm a little feisty today.
Yes, you are. All right. So should we get
Meow.
started?
Yes, let's go. Why don't
Okay.
you give a general overview of the
Yes.
philosophy of the Ghost Points?
Yes.
And I'm going to sit quietly and unfeisty myself with
Right.
my tea right now.
Well, these points are obviously used a lot for kind of negative life experiences and trauma, but we like to talk about the self-cultivation strategy you can use once you understand the ghost points. And that's what this whole series of this part of the podcast is going to be about. It's about, helping you, like we said, get to your true ding, ding, ding authenticity.
Yo, you don't have to do the ding, ding, ding every time.
I have another word for authenticity, and
Uh-oh.
I like to call it true chi.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's what this treatment is about in Chinese medicine, how to get to your true chi.
I like that. And so now you've already done that twice. So that's good. We'll keep that count going too. No, I'm just teasing. And for us, I like to share this information in a way that you can instantly apply it to your daily lives. For me, the way I live, it's a self-cultivation way to cultivate each point along with your self-cultivation practice. So the things that we're going to talk about the 13 ghost points, you can add that knowledge to your self-cultivation practice. It's not replacing your self-cultivation practice. It's not about that. It's like enhancing, it's adding, and we can talk a little bit later about the hooks,
Yeah.
Not the kind that gets stuck in a fish, the poor fishies, but the kind that humans can get stuck in their hearts.
Yeah, which is just as sad.
I know, but we can get those hooks out.
So before we dive into the water where the fish are hooked, we need to understand how we as humans get hooked and, what it really means to be hooked.
Because that word has a lot of different meanings right now in the world.
Yeah.
Again, it can cause people to become inauthentic in their lives. And many, I'll do another many because I'm doing lots of repeating today, of us have hooks in our lives, in our hearts. We've been hooked on, and that's like
Sometimes we
trauma.
call it having skeletons in your closet.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting.
it's those hidden
concept.
deep things, that hidden deep things that we keep in the back of our closets, which we mean is our hearts or our souls or whatever your word is. We'd like to throw them out or get rid of them or clean them out. We just maybe don't know how.
Not to go through all the possible metaphors, but We could also
Did I
call
miss
it
one?
We could also yes, we could call it baggage.
Yes.
Like really heavy baggage. We have to carry those around for the rest of our lives if we can't purge them.
Yeah. So apparently it's been out through the ages because there's so many metaphors for all of this, right? We
Right.
all know what they are. But the important thing to remember that our 5 elements can be looked at as possibly as a key to understanding the kind of hooks that we tend to get. It's another tool that I like to somehow gently apply to this.
That's a good point, Jay. Maybe the best way to explain hooks to our listeners is if you've been listening for a while, you probably know something about the 5 elements.
Well, and if not, you can go back and listen to some
Yes.
podcasts on the
Yes.
5 elements because we have quite a few on that. And you can start to, figure out what the top 3 are in your stack up. But yeah, I like that. Let's do that. I didn't think we were going to do that, but that sounds like a good way to go with this.
All right. So to set that up, let's talk about why do people love their hooks so much? I mean, love is like in quotation marks here.
Love, hate, you
Love,
mean?
hate their
So
hooks
it's like
so
hook,
much.
line, and stinkers. Right?
That's really good. So
You think?
yeah, I
Wow.
do.
Okay.
Yeah, that
I
was
just
pretty
thought of
good.
that.
We get hooks that relate to our mission in life, our purpose, our destiny. And so that's partly why we have this love-hate relationship with them. The Taoists believe essentially we came into this life with a curriculum, a set of lessons we wanted to learn.
Or you could think of it as a set of experiences we wish to have so that we could resolve some curiosities that we have in the past life.
And so while life is going to have more experiences for sure than just that curriculum, probably maybe even more than we bargained for, it's the experiences that have to do with the curriculum we set out to accomplish that we end up focusing on, that we care about, that we talk about all the time.
I think that's the connection that you just helped me make in my mind. It's the experiences. That's why and it's about elements and energetics and how you move through the world, because it's the experiences. As you may recall from the episodes we've done, each elemental type has at least one palace of the 9 palaces that it cares about or is the focus on, as maybe a way we could talk about it, as that theme of this lifetime. So each one gets 2, except for Earth, they get 1.
Yeah, and these themes of life that we really care about, this is an interesting way to look at why we get these hooks in these particular themes. So let's start with wood.
Yeah, and if you ever come to my office, I have a giant whiteboard, and on the left side, I have all the 9 palaces written out, and they have different names, so I have the names there, but each one has the element next to it, so
Yeah.
people can understand quickly
Yeah.
where their struggles are, and so it does correlate. It is really fascinating.
So
And
maybe we'll put that list in the show notes
Maybe
for people.
I will.
All right.
Yes, I don't want to take a picture of my board, but I will make some kind of chart to give me a little bit of time to do it. But I think it's an easy way to. It's kind of like a cheat sheet,
Yes.
So all right, so let's go with the woods. We always do. Ready to go. I'm already ready to go. Let's go, go, go. Why are you taking so much time? Let's go. Let's start with the wood.
Okay. So a hook is something that gets stuck in you because you're working on your life lesson and you haven't figured that one out yet. And you try to figure it out, but instead of resolving it, you come up with maybe some negative thoughts about it. And then you end up coming up with like negative conclusions about life. And before you know it, you're no longer being authentic.
So a wood person's life curriculum is about greatness. How can I, as a wood person, or you as a wood person, or wood, I like it wood 1 or 2, it can be thought about, come into being and push myself past what is thought possible, to climb that mountain that no one was able to climb before, to defy that perspective and believe limitations, we already said limitless, around us, and then break through that, go past that, go faster, go bolder, go stronger. We grow, we become more than we were at the start. Essentially, we change the world.
Yeah, you got it. That's like mic drop, Jay.
Right? That's big. You want
Yeah.
to go big, that's big.
That is in true wood fashion.
Right? That's big. But that is what it's about. That's
Yeah.
what moves this world forward.
So what happens when you're wood and life experiences are happening, all kinds, and you're having relationship troubles maybe, and trouble with your children, and just, trouble with your career, just stuff. But even though those things are happening, those aren't the ones you really care about that you keep focusing on.
Yeah, and I like the word challenge versus problems and troubles.
Right.
So, if you're wood, maybe those negative challenges or experiences may feel like they're getting in the way of the path that you're on or supposed to be on, but the real tough ones are going to be things like in the pursuit of your greatness, let's say the people who don't see what you're trying to do and they actually attack or criticize or go after your reputation or maybe challenge your ethics or your morals. Those things will bring wood people down for sure. Remember, if you have wood 1 or 2, it can definitely
I
be a
think
challenge.
that's the worst. If someone attacks your reputation or something like that, you went right for it, Jay. There's really nothing worse than when wood gets its reputation
Yeah,
destroyed.
because instead of people seeing the breakthrough magic of wood, some people only see the negative or the negative aspects. Instead of learning the lessons that wood are maybe here to teach us or show us or guide us, those lessons that wood are really good at, the motivation, the exploration, the excitement, that we shouldn't be held back by our perceived limits, that we should go for our dreams. Instead of that, essentially the dream of wood is dashed, it's destroyed, it's just blown up because other people have not the capacity to see the greatness in that person.
Yeah. And
That was a
even-
lot. I'm so sorry. That was a lot.
I mean, but that's it. Even if they accomplish what they originally set out to do, if they didn't do it, like if people think it's like unjust in some way or that they weren't kind in some way or just in general, like someone's like tarnishing their reputation, saying negative things, then guess what? The people aren't going to be talking about the great stuff that wood person did.
No, they're going to be saying they're a bleep or a
Yeah.
bleep or a
Yeah.
bleep, bleep, bleep. Yes.
Yeah.
And, their spouse could leave. The kids might turn their backs on them and not talk to them, but, that hurts, but that's not the big hurt. It's the inside, that reputation, that, morals, the ethics, and suddenly everything in life might be about restoring the reputation and proving to people that they're good. And again, this is about balance. So obviously you can see when things get out of balance.
Right. We're trying to explain here what is a hook.
Right.
And this is a typical hook for a wood person.
It manifests as something that is maybe perceived as smaller and then to outside, but inside it can really
It's huge.
manifest and start to fester and gets hooked in your heart.
Yeah. And to be authentic again, these wood people, they just simply need to go out and do great things again and not worry about their reputation. And that's wood, like it when they return to their authenticity.
And when they're not being authentic, they might be in hiding. They might be living a small life. They
Yeah.
might be afraid to, be bold or seen
Yeah.
or, even though they know what they would do if it was, I'm going to use air quotes, safe.
Yeah. And this is when a wood person in this case, needs to look at the ghost points as a way to come back to their authenticity. They need to clear that stuff out.
And I just think it's a perfect treatment for, the things we just talked about.
Yeah.
We see it all the time. So, all right,
Yeah.
let's go to fire. How does the fire person get hooked, Leta?
Yeah, so for fire, it's about relationships and prosperity, but mostly it's about relationships. First and foremost, love. So with fires, they could be broke. They could maybe not have a job. They might not be able to have children, but what they're talking about is going to be their relationships because everything revolves around that.
And we're primarily talking about love relations, not necessarily family, or sometimes we bring it into that, but this is about the chosen love, or and some people think it's not chosen, it's just destiny.
Destiny.
It's like nothing else happens in their lives unless that relationship box gets checked, like check. Then their lives can start to unfold in their hearts.
Exactly. That's fire in a normal state. That means in a true chi way, they're always thinking about the people in their lives, talking about their feelings, sharing the love and the beauty that's inside them.
And you can also connect that to their prosperity.
Yes.
Right?
And let's say that someone comes along and convinces them that they're ugly or that their love is toxic and basically like tells them that they're unlovable.
What? Say it ain't so. That is the worst for the fire, for
the
sure.
worst. And that's when you feel like there's no hope for relationship, like there's no other option in your life.
And you're unlovable. That would destroy fire.
Yeah.
Put the fire out. Boom.
Totally. So that's just an example of how a fire might look like if they're hooked. That feeling of coming to the conclusion of being like in your mind of being unlovable, or that hopeless, lonely feeling where there's no love. And there are many, many variations of this. We're just giving you a couple examples.
Yeah, and that hook changes the fire elemental person. Instead of just being light and love in the world, they're afraid to show, they're afraid to be themselves, to give love freely. And that's when they're being inauthentic now. It's the opposite.
That's when they don't have true chi anymore.
Yeah, so sad. These make me like, I want to
I
change it,
know,
but
and
they
that's-
can with the ghost points.
And that's what they need. They need the ghost
Right.
points.
And so that's why I really always love people to do alchemy.
Yes.
Right? Just to do their alchemy.
Yes.
So the ghost points is one step towards
Along-
your
Yeah,
alchemy.
yeah.
All right, so what about earth?
Okay, an example of an earth hook. Remember, earths are about home with a capital H, which is all about belonging. We like to say spiritual belonging, really, but in an earth person's life, it's often about the family or even the community.
So in this case, what happens to an earth person when the community or their friends or their children reject them? They
Oh,
turn their
boy.
backs on them.
Wow. I mean, if the earth person's whole life and curriculum is about relationships with family and being kind and caring, and suddenly what if this person, like your child, the one you gave birth to and raised, what if they reject you and tell you how horrible you are?
Yeah, that's devastating.
Yeah.
Just devastating.
And you could try to make sense out of that in so many ways, but suddenly maybe that earth person starts to see the world differently. Maybe there are like many ways that they can like process this negative, story of their lives when they get hooked. And maybe they come to this conclusion, this life lesson that nobody needs or wants them, or the amazing gifts they have to give. And so they kind of like get hardened.
Yeah, it's like a hardened earth,
Yes.
that lonely feeling where you just take care of yourself. And probably not in a great way either. Like it's not
Right.
rock star taking care of yourself.
And obviously, this is just one possible outcome. There could be so many ways an earth person might get hooked by this idea of like, oh, my kid hates me or something like that.
Or in my community, my coworkers.
Yes, any
'cause
place where you
sometimes
belong.
where you think that a lot of people say they stay at a job because they love the people. It's like their family.
Yeah.
And if that changes,
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, what about metal?
Okay, so for metal, it's about disconnect, like losing your parents, your siblings, your friends. If there are too many losses at once, suddenly that metal person might get hooked into feeling like they're a loner. The hook might be that it's no longer worth it to reach out and make connections because it's so painful to lose more people. It's just too, disturbing. So that could be the hook.
And I also think with metal, relationships can die. People can move away. People can like leave their lives. In a lot of ways, that could be like a death to a metal person because they
Yeah.
usually have, people in their lives, different circles of people. And if too many of those cords get cut, that is
Yeah.
like death.
Then, it's almost like they start floating away.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's another one that's really, really challenging. And so what about water?
So for water, the life curriculum is about wanting to matter. They want to matter. So they're constantly doing things that make them feel like they matter to other people.
So let's say you're forgotten by others, or you're invisible, or you're left behind. Like when you're a kid and your parents and all your siblings get into the van or the station wagon, literally leave you at the rest stop when you're in the bathroom and they drive off. And you're like, whoa. After you recover from the trauma, you're like, I'm invisible.
Right. How do you interpret that?
Yeah.
It's just, you suddenly realize you really, really don't matter.
So that could be a hook. And then you live your life from that point on in the shadows,
Yes.
not really mattering.
Yeah.
You don't have a ton of ambition to do amazing things because nobody will see you. And you're getting shut down. All that awesome potential in you is kind of being, I don't know, hidden maybe.
And that's such a perfect example of a hook because water people should be ambitious.
Right.
They have incredible potential, but they have maybe a potential hook. And that's how this inauthentic, not true chi way of being could look like for a water person.
And the irony is they want to matter, and by not doing anything, they don't matter.
Yes.
So they're like fulfilling,
Fulfilling, yes.
right?
Oh my God.
That'll bring a water person.
Totally.
All right, so that's the very, very, very simple, short version of the way energetically through the 5 elements people can get hooks. And so, Leta, let's go into how the ghost points work from your perspective as a Chinese medicine practitioner.
So each ghost point has a theme that you can utilize to begin to work through freeing yourself from these hooks. And in this podcast, we're going to give you a self-cultivation path towards your own freedom through these themes.
Yeah, one step at a time, or one point at a time, how you can free yourself from these hooks. This is just a simple version of this way. Obviously, getting a treatment, would be really awesome with a practitioner somewhere in the world. And we have heard people do that on themselves. And I'm not saying it's effective or not effective, but I always love to say, why? Why not go to someone who's doing this, right?
Yeah.
So this
Very
is the
helpful.
way. This is the way.
Like Mandalorian?
Yes.
This is the way.
This is the way. The way. This is the way.
All right.
So that is the way, Leta. We're going to end this podcast. And so on the next episode, we're going to just jump right into the first theme, the door to you. What is that point called?
Ghost Palace.
Ghost Palace. We're going to go through the palace door, so to speak. And so that is the way you can interface with the world. I'm going to use that word one more time, authentically.
There you go.
All right. So to hook or to not to have a hook? That is the question.
That is the question.
I'm pretty sure we all have hooks somewhere.
But the question is, what's the answer?
And can you get unhooked? I don't have the answers. I just have the question.
Okay.
Well, I've been saying that for like 2 weeks now.
All right.
All right. All right. Have a good one. And we'll see you in the Alchemy Learning Center.
Okay. Bye. Bye.
You've been listening to the Inspired Action Podcast, and you've reached the end. Woohoo! Why not celebrate a little bit and click that subscribe button right there? We love having you with us on this journey, and we want it to continue.
You can also rate and review this podcast. And if you have already, thank you so much. We read all reviews, and your reviews help other people find this podcast as well. You can also be a part of this podcast yourself by submitting a voice recording message and emailing it to us at leta@inspiredactionpodcast.com or jay@inspiredactionpodcast.com.
And if you want, you can join our Facebook group or follow us on Instagram.
Join us next week for another Inspired Action conversation. And thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening, and remember to hug the dog.